In this video, we'll talk about 3 ways that you can tell if a vintage brooch is worth your money. My name is Dana. I am a vintage collector. I've been collecting for more than 30 years, and I am obsessed with costume jewelry. So I hope you'll come along with me and learn a little bit about costume brooches today, especially ones that might be more valuable if you're on the hunt for a great costume jewelry piece. All right, so let's get into it. I am going to talk about 3 ways that you can tell if costume jewelry brooches are worth your money. So let's talk about the first way, quality. When we think about quality for vintage brooches, you can tell quality through a handful of different characteristics. Let's take a look. I'm going to show you 2 brooches here that we've got. When it comes to quality, you can look at a couple of different characteristics to be able to assess quality. So let's look at these brooches here, and I'm going to pick this one up first. The first thing you can look at is the quality of the stones. And so if you look over here, you can see that all of them are quite bright. The stone itself, the brooch itself is very heavy, and everything is really sparkly. In fact, if you were to take your nails right here and touch the brooch, you can tell that these diamantes, if you will, are actually glass and not plastic. You'll want to take a look at the sparkle, whether or not they're kind of all sparkling, and if any happen to be yellowing, because sometimes the back sides of different types of rhinestones can start to yellow over time. Another way to assess quality is that these rhinestones are actually pronged in. They have a prong setting. I love this brooch because it has double prong settings throughout all of the different settings here all around. So one way to look at it is check out the stones. The next thing you want to look at is you want to look at the metal itself. So the metal quality and the finish, both in the front and the back. How does that metal quality look? Does it look consistent across the brooch? Does it look nice and kind of finished and not messy or sloppy? Are there really cool features like this circle around this one, and then you can tell that the inside, the biggest diamond rhinestone there is actually held in through a couple of different hooks and clasps in there. So this one was quite well built. You want to check out and see if any of the C connections, the hooks and the clasps are in working order. You want to take a look at some signature marks. So are there any signature marks here? This one actually has a signature mark on it right here. It says Austria, so that is pretty cool. You can tell that this one is quite quality if you see Austria or specific countries as a marking, or you'll see different designer manufacturers have their own specific marking. So that's another quality to look at when you're assessing quality. You also want to look at the way that it looks. Does it have great symmetry? Does it look like it is a hefty piece? Does it feel nice and valuable? Like it weighs like it should, right? Like it's got a stature to it. I love that this brooch right here actually has 3 layers, so it's a multi-layer type of piece. So that indicates quality construction, that there were 3 things that had to go on to be able to build it. So that is a great example of a nice quality brooch. Here's another one that I'm going to take a look at here when it comes to quality. So this is a really cool starburst brooch. With this brooch here, you can see that the rhinestones are just glued on. In fact, there's one that's a little bit wonky set in there. You know, I really love the color and I love the design of it, but the quality of it seems a little bit missing. I can look on the back as well. I don't see any maker's, designer's mark. This clasp here looks like it just had been, quickly welded on. It is not very designer looking. It looks like they just bought some kind of basic clasp and soldered it on or smushed it on and glued it on the back. So not so great in terms of quality when it comes to this brooch. All right, great. So we talked about assessing quality when you look at vintage brooches. The next thing I'm going to talk about that you'll want to consider is condition. You want to look for any kind of visible repairs. Is there any work that has been done? Is there anything that's missing? Sometimes I see really gorgeous brooches and you can't tell unless you take a good look at them that something has been broken off, removed. Broken or missing elements, again, check for any types of rhinestones, any types of additions on the brooch that might be broken or missing. So this clasp looks really great, functions really well, has a nice lock to it. I would say this brooch is in great condition, excellent condition, if you will, for a vintage piece that is likely from the 40s or 50s. Okay, let's take a look at this brooch number 2. When we think about its condition, it seems pretty clear and bright. I like the gold tone to it a bit. Again, that wonky rhinestones, they look a little bit offset. In fact, this one, if you look at it from far away, you might not see that there are some broken elements to it, but in fact, this guy right here was broken. I actually have the piece to it. So right here, there should be some more additions to this. So this brooch is actually broken, and so not quite in the greatest condition in terms of value, right? It's lost quite a bit of its value because it's broken. All right, so we talked about quality, we talked about condition. Now let's talk about the third element. The third element that you want to look for in valuable brooches is its uniqueness. When we think about brooch's uniqueness, there's a couple of things that you want to look at. Does the brooch itself stand out in some way? Is it bold? Is it brilliant? Whimsical? Sparkly? Is it something that you love, that you collect, that you really like? Think about the way that it stands out and is unique to you. So for example, bow style brooches and atomic starbursts are the ones that really stand out to me. And so I love really unique starbursts and bow type of brooches. So they call to me and I love them. When you think about assessing for uniqueness, when you're looking at the brooch, ask yourself, does it cause an emotional reaction in you? Do you love it? What is it that is appealing to you that's causing some kind of emotion? So let's look at these two brooches as an example of uniqueness. Let's take our Austrian brooch here, this kind of circular snowflake design. The unique part I love about it is the double prong connections on the rhinestones. I think that's really cool. You don't see that a lot. I love that it's kind of 3-layered like a cake. You can see it build upon build upon build. And of course it sparkles. It's like one of my most sparkly brooches. So I love this one. This second brooch here, I love atomic starbursts. They're my favorite to collect. And so with this one really caught my eye because it has these like jetting out longer bursts, if you will. And so that's why this one really caught my eye. However, it kind of fails the other two tests, the condition assessment as well as the quality assessment. But I still like the design. I think it's kind of cool. So we talked about the 3 ways that you can tell whether a valuable brooch is worth your money. We talked about condition, quality, and uniqueness. Ultimately, it's really up to you to decide whether or not it meets your criteria for whether the brooch is worth your money. However, when you're going out next time and you see something catches your eye, make sure that you assess for these 3 qualities before deciding whether or not it's worth the money. If you go and are on the search and you love vintage brooches, go ahead and share in the comments below what you look for when assessing whether or not a vintage brooch is worth your money. Would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please consider subscribing today or sharing this with someone else who loves vintage brooches. We'll see you soon. Thanks so much.